What if we took God of War and made it tiny? Oh my god, that's Chains of Olympus. God of War has two PSP titles, Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. Unlike every other God of War game, neither of these PSP titles are available on any modern console. So it's likely that people who joined the franchise with 2018 or Ragnarok have never actually played these games before. Today we're gonna figure out if Chains of Olympus is worth your time. Is it pure cinema or complete garbage? Back in the times before Ares mysteriously exploded, Kratos was a servant of the gods for 10 years. Apparently, at some point, he was sent to Attica to repel the attacking Persian army. Chains starts its gameplay the same as every other God of War, immediate and sudden violence. The first real enemy you have to face is the jump scare Cyclops, whose only weakness is the jump scare naked mole rat. It's a very specific weakness, don't laugh. There's not much to say here because you can't really do much and he can't really do much, and the fight just kinda ends in a draw. Alright, I'll see you later. Hold up, are we sieging the city now? Aren't we trying to save him? Kratos then finds himself face to face with the only man in video game history with jiggle physics. We're immediately thrown into a boss fight with the Persian king. His main attacks are watching his soldiers die and laughing the pain away. He also summons a red demon that deals fire damage in a circle around him. Kratos negotiates a price for the demon and pays the man in full. You have acquired the Ifrit. The Ifrit is the first magic you obtain in the game, and it works very similarly to Poseidon's Rage from God of War 1. You gain invincibility, and everything else loses the will to live. Once upgraded, you can spam the circle button to make more fire appear, and the final upgrade does a large fire burst at the end. Pretty cool. Alright, back in Attica, Kratos introduces himself to the locals, finds a magic feather, and fights a real Cyclops. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I'm playing on God mode, so I'm very scared all the time. Just before leaving the city and fighting the jump scare from earlier, I decided to level up my blades. Unfortunately for me, I was exactly 15 blood orbs short. Anyways, it's time to eradicate the last living thing in the town we were supposed to save. That's right, it's the same fight again, but this time you're on a bridge. But if you block the teeth and dodge the fire, you can gain 15 blood orbs in the middle of the fight. Thank you, naked mole rat. We drop 2 different towers on the thing and break every bone in its face. The people are gone, the city is ruined, another perfect day in ancient Greece. Now all that's left to do is enjoy the beautiful sunshine and... what? Huh? Well, that's God of War Chains of Olympus. Sorry about the sun exploding the earth or whatever. Oh, there's more. Okay. Well, let's figure that out, I guess. The narrator says that Morpheus put the world to sleep and then stole the sun. Wow, that's fucked up. The world is now covered in a thick fog, which can only be countered by caveman technology. Occasionally, Kratos will hear the song of his daughter, which is some real horror movie shit. At the Temple of Helios, you know, the thing that destroyed the earth, Athena tells Kratos that Morpheus magically altered the bedtime of the gods, and now they're all eepy. Now it's his job to find Helios and make the sun unexplode. We need to explore the Temple of Helios, which is filled with goats. Goats with swords, goats with bombs, goats using other goats as weapons. Once we're inside, our goals are clear. 1. Take the longest elevator ride ever created. 2. Riz up a naked statue. And 3. Break this chair. Hold on, what was that second one? The statue allows Kratos to talk with Eos, sister of Helios. Got a lot of oses in this bitch, who says Kratos has to come find her for some reason. Okay, can do. Anyways, the chair from step 3 holds the sun shield. The sun shield lets us parry enemies with perfect timing, which, as you can clearly see, does literally nothing. That's why you need to upgrade the ability immediately to be able to use counters after a perfect block. Once Kratos has the shield, he can start activating these horses, who usually carry the chariot across the sky and not into the earth. We take a slight detour and a funny walk through a portal to find my favorite thing in every God of War game, the ability to swim. Because why wouldn't you want a 10-second animation to open a chest, you goddamn landlubber? We also find Eos. That was quick. Much like her statue, she does not like clothes, but she does like the primordial fire, which is in danger if we don't help Helios, so we need to go get it. Nice. The primordial fire allows us to reflect ranged attacks with perfect parries. After mogging these statues, we also get the Light of Dawn. Light of Dawn is our second magic attack, a ranged orb to hit faraway enemies. But don't be fooled by its introduction, it will never 2-shot anything ever again. It won't even 10-shot anything. This is the worst magic Chains of Olympus has to offer, and it is not close. There's a section later where you need to fight 4 archers on a distant platform, and you can either spend half of your magic bar to take down one of them, them, or you can just perfect parry their own attacks for free and destroy them in 3 hits. So you will not see me using this magic ever for any reason for the rest of my life. Back in the temple, Kratos uses his Giga Chad Spartan brain to solve more puzzles and return the last 2 steeds to their rightful place. After which they immediately betray him and nosedive straight into the pits of hell. Well, this is all kinds of fucked up. After introducing himself to the locals, Kratos meets with the ferryman of the underworld, Charon.
What the hell?
As with every other character in God of War, it is on sight for no reason. This guy is a freaky little cheater though, and no matter what you do, you are going to lose this fight. Kratos gets manhandled to the edge of the underworld and then gets thrown even deeper. What the hell is deeper than hell? Apparently it's Tartarus, where your punishment is wiggling your toes for all eternity. I'm not gonna lie to you, brother, this whole section of the game looks the exact same. I could show 15 different areas and you would have no idea. There is one landmark though, this skeleton guy sitting in a chair, but Kratos immediately kicks that off a cliff, so never mind, I guess. The most important part of Tartarus is the Gauntlet of Zeus. This is the weapon that bound the Titans after the war. You might even say it chained them. Chained Titans? Olympus chained the Titans? Chains of Olympus? I know I'm the guy making the video, but can anyone explain to me why the gauntlet looks like it's bigger than Kratos' entire body? And then he puts it on and it's just only slightly way too fucking big? Anyways, the Gauntlet of Zeus is an alternate weapon, and it's kind of crazy powerful. Each hit is probably almost a full blade combo and will knock enemies back constantly. Upgrading it grants access to new moves, but they're pretty situational and not really necessary. The damage doesn't increase with upgrades either, so use your blood orbs on anything else. Except for Light of Dawn. I swear to God, if I find out that you upgraded that piece of shit. There is one more important thing in Tartarus, and that is the plot of the game or whatever. On his way out, Kratos sees some of the Titans who have been imprisoned by the gods and punished with terrible hairlines. What did they curse me for? Except one of them, the Titan Atlas, is missing, and his chains were clearly unlocked by someone. Morpheus, maybe? The only guy we've been after this entire time? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Kratos proceeds to climb out of hell again, or maybe it's the first time. I can't remember. And now it's time for round 2 with Charon. Now, me personally, I like to punch him repeatedly until I can get a hold of his weapon, then I give it back to him. Well, I guess that settles that. Oh, what the fuck is that? Kratos, get him! I'm sorry for yelling. I've never seen a man abandon his lower half before. I guess Charon didn't actually do much because the boat navigates the river Styx just fine without him. And there's Kratos' daughter Calliope again, jamming out with that flute thing she's got. Here we obtain the final magic ability in the game, Charon's Wrath. This is a single target ability that locks one enemy in place and deals damage to them periodically. Upgrading it turns it into a multi-target attack, and generally it's pretty useful. As it turns out, we've arrived at the Temple of Persephone. Okay, sure, why not? We end up chasing Calliope around the temple on some Scooby-Doo shit until Persephone shows up and says, "Oh baby, have I got a deal for you. I'll let you hang out with your daughter, but you gotta give me your orbs. Green ones, blue ones, I'll take that tattoo and the blades." Kratos gives up all of his power so he can hang out with his daughter in Elysium for about 5 seconds. Persephone instantly reveals that she just pranked him hard, and her and Atlas are about to destroy everything that's ever existed. Kratos realizes that in order to save his daughter, he'll have to press the circle button a lot. Once he successfully abandons her, it's time to kill peaceful ghosts in the afterlife to regain your status as the worst man of all time. It works, and now the only thing left to do is stop Persephone and Atlas from destroying the future of the God of War franchise. Persephone grows too many wings and puts on her ass-kicking outfit, and if I'm being honest, she kicked my ass. Halfway through the fight, Kratos gets bored with Persephone and opts to fight Atlas instead. In literally 20 seconds of real time, Kratos starts fighting Atlas and chains him to the bottom of the earth, forcing him to hold it up for the rest of time. I hope you enjoyed Atlas, cause that's it. He's done. Back with Persephone, they play a few rounds of catch before Kratos annihilates her with pure light, and she fucking explodes. Kratos asks Atlas how his balls taste and then flings himself off a cliff. Ladies and gentlemen, Chains of Olympus. Oh, and Athena and Helios show up to loot him so we can start the next game with no equipment. Okay, so those are the events of the game, basically. I changed some stuff to be funny, but that's pretty much it. Now let's get a little more in-depth about the gameplay. In my opinion, Chains of Olympus is the easiest God of War game. Baby's first God of War, if you will. I think the technical limitations of the PSP combined with the smaller scale of the game make the God difficulty much more accessible than other entries. The first thing you'll probably notice is the small arenas in the game. Most fights take place in confined spaces that allow everything to be shown on a PSP screen. I think this actually works to the game's benefit because when enemies start leaving the screen, I start shitting my pants. One of the most common enemies in this game is the hoplite, a freaky little abomination. They usually show up with 2 swords, a bow, or a shield that gets turbo punched into being 2 swords again. Their favorite attack by far is this charge move. They have a little animation to warn you it's happening, but the scary part is when they leave the screen. If you can't see them, they could run in and one-shot you at literally any moment. How do I know this? It might have happened to me once or twice. Or maybe a lot of fucking times, I don't know. However, the archer variant is actually nerfed by the screen size, because if they're not on the screen, they go completely idle, and they won't attack Kratos at all. You can use this to your advantage by keeping them just out of frame if you don't want to deal with them. This is true for the satyr enemies as well, who also have a 2-sword variant as well as a bomb-throwing variant. The bomb-throwing guys are extremely annoying and dangerous unless they're right over there. A couple inches that way. Then they're just chilling, brother. Oh, shit. And I don't have to burn my feet on that fire damage. Speaking of taking damage, this game really does not want you to do that, as evidenced by the amount of green orbs you receive from a chest. In the mainline entries, a green chest will restore almost all of your health, if not all of it, even on the hardest difficulty. But Chains of Olympus did not get the memo, brother. Even before getting any health upgrades, it is very likely that a green chest will not fill your health bar. Oh my god, that's so bad. It stays like this throughout the whole game, and there were many fights where I could have finished it and moved on, but opted to restart the checkpoint instead, because I took a little bit too much damage. And in my head, I was like, that's 3 chests worth of health, man. I'm not getting that back for like an hour. I do want to point out that there seems to be a bug or a glitch or something, at least I don't think it's intentional, where after dying a lot, sometimes I would restart the checkpoint with more health than I had before, but it wasn't consistent, and sometimes it never happened, so I don't really know what that was about. Earlier, I talked a little bit about the magic, but I want to give some more detailed thoughts on each of them. The Ifrit is the clear winner for the MVP award. It's the first magic you receive, so you spend the most time with it. One of the meta reasons to invest in the Ifrit early, though, is that it's kind of the only magic that matters. After the Ifrit, you gain the Sun Shield, which isn't magic, the Light of Dawn, which is completely useless, and Charon's Wrath, which is good, but only available for the last 30-ish minutes of the game. So this guy, this fire demon, that's your boy right there. I don't know what an Ifrit is, but when I find out, it's over for you hoes. The Sun Shield is very fun to use, and I think it's more satisfying than the Golden Fleece. Something about that shield playing makes me feel like an absolute lad when I parry. If I have to mention the Light of Dawn one more time, I'm gonna fucking lose it for real. So just know that it's dead to me. Charon's Wrath has a lot going for it, including the ridiculous face it makes when you pick it up. Being able to lock enemies down and then beat the hell out of them is always nice. Plus, if you miss, it doesn't consume the magic. It might be the only God of War magic that does that, but I don't remember and I'm too lazy to check, so let's just say that's the case. Charon's Wrath is also probably the best magic to use during the final boss fight. Speaking of boss fights, we should probably actually talk about those, huh? Apparently this thing is called a basilisk. Looks like a naked rat to me, but we'll agree to disagree on that one. The basilisk, being the first boss, really has nothing going on. You can block his bites without perfect parry, and for his fire breath, you either dodge to the side or straight through. I think he's a good indication of how hard the rest of the game is going to be. Compared to Water Horse from 3, or even John's statue from 2, this guy is kind of a joke, but a good joke, you know, one that makes me say, ah, I see what you did there. Next up, we have the Persian King, aka the big dog himself. There's 3 attacks to look out for here. Angry Sword Swing, which you can block, Angry Sword Swing Fire Edition, which you have to dodge, and Dance Dance Move Your Feet, Big Dog just summoned Ifrit. I feel like on paper, this guy seems like he should be harder than the Basilisk, but he's somehow even easier. The constantly spawning soldiers are even more pathetic than I could ever describe in English, so I translated it to Japanese. Well said. Thank you, robot lady. I took no damage from this man, and I don't think I ever will, but I like him a lot, so he gets a thumbs up from me. Uh-oh, the Basilisk has returned, and he's still not wearing pants. The bite is back, the fire breath breath returns. He could theoretically use his claws. I mean, he doesn't, but he could. He spits out fireballs that you dodge, and then you start the quick time event to drop a tower on his head. This is another easy fight, and I want to point something out here. These two basilisk fights and the Persian king happen 20 minutes into the game, and they're very easy. And mathematically speaking, we're over halfway through these bosses. This game probably could have used 2 more boss encounters, one at the Temple of Helios and one in Tartarus. Okay, anyways, the next boss is like 2 hours later after playing a majority of the game, and it's Charon, the fairy guy. At first, he only has 2 moves, a 5-hit scythe swing that you can block or even parry if you want, and big green balls, which you can and should parry to inflict more damage on him. When he gets low enough on health, he teleports about 5 feet up, and that grants him unlimited life, I guess. I can't really explain this, and honestly, I don't even know how to joke about it. You have to break one of the pillars below him every time he does this to knock him off and keep fighting. After the first pillar, he gets a new move you might have heard of. It's called Charon's Wrath, and you don't want to get hit by that shit because it's busted. After the second pillar, he starts doing a ground slam, but if you stand more than 3 feet away from him, it just looks embarrassing. Once you knock out the third pillar, he's cooked and goes Green Goblin mode up in the air. This fight is definitely the hardest one yet, and it's kind of a warm-up for Persephone. But I like Charon as a fight, and punching the little version of him is one of the greatest joys of my life. Final boss. Persephone is absolutely the hardest boss in the game. In the first phase, she always starts with the Eagle Swoop, then there's the 2-hit Wombo combo, and finally the Rock Kick of Doom. All of these attacks have to be perfect parried or dodged, otherwise you're hitting the fucking deck, brother. But those are all of her moves. Each of them is pretty easy to deal with, but the difficulty comes from how consistent you have to be. You'll lose basically all of your health from any of these attacks, and it'll take a minute to get her to the next stage. After a brief intermission with Atlas, we're in phase 2. I would say this part is actually easier because she doesn't really fight you directly. The gimmick here is perfect parrying these orbs back at her and then whooping her dangling ass. She'll use this tracking beam, but you literally just casually walk away from it. And these green pillars she summons are the exact same. That's it, dude. That's the fight. Just don't get rocked and you're good. Alright, we focused on each part of the game, and now we gotta talk about how it all comes together. Let's start with the story. Everything in Attica, not really relevant. Once the plot actually gets going, Morpheus is set up to be the main antagonist of the game. However, he is never shown. I have no idea what Morpheus looks like. Atlas gets name dropped by Eos about a third of the way through, but Persephone is never mentioned until the very end. Rescuing Helios and restoring the sun also seems super important, but both happen off screen after the final fight, and we only ever see Helios's feet, which you should never post for free. Thank you very much. If Zeus and Hades and the rest could be put to sleep this easily, it's kind of amazing that the Titans lost in the first place. Apparently you can just steal the sun and it's GG ancient Greece. I don't know, man, it just feels like a weird plot. The gameplay is definitely simpler than usual, but I think it's done really well. Aside from slight differences in graphics, you're basically just playing God of War but tiny. The blades feel good to use, and the Gauntlet of Zeus is like the Nemean Cestus on steroids. The magic is pretty useful, aside from Light of Dawn. I'll do it! Don't test me. And the enemy variety is way higher than you would expect for this kind of game. The boss fights are pretty easy, even Persephone, and especially Atlas. Get fucked, bozo. Playing Chains a few times again for this video made this game grow on me a lot, if I'm honest. So is this game trash or peak? Why are you asking me, brother? Just ask potatoes. Yeah, it's peak.